a number of decisions taken by the Prime Minister, putting aside 2 billion funds for private lay and confessional schools, wanting to recruit a good number of bilingual high Cameroonians with higher diplomas, and also setting in place a committee that will begin negotiating. What's your reaction to those signals?
Well, I would say what the teachers are saying. They are not satisfied. In fact, they're doubting why the content of the Prime Minister's supposed, I insist on supposed, because when I look at that document, Professor Erwin Golengalo, who's been in government, will explain that to us better. I saw the letterhead of the Prime Minister's office. I saw a signature. I didn't see a stamp, which is a seal to authenticate the document. So I don't know if that document came from the Prime Minister's office. There hasn't been a dispute over that yet. But the teachers are saying this is about the contents now. They don't think that responds to the demands they made. They gave, when they made the Prime Minister, they gave 10 to 12 points, conditions they wanted.
Are you saying what you're saying, or you're saying what the teachers have said?
They give conditions. I am only a journalist. The teachers are the actors. I can only say what they say. I mean, I comment on that. And they wanted at least one of those conditions to be made by last Wednesday. And what we saw even came after the deadline on Thursday. The supposed a statement from the Prime Minister's office.
The Prime Minister was out of the country.
And they say it doesn't respond to their demands. And so the strike continues.
Okay. I know that one of the things which has come out very openly in the ongoing strike action is, I would say, the usage of the term Anglophone, which has become, they've shifted from the strike action and the content of the demands to the polemics around who is an Anglophone and so on. And I invited Professor Ntengwa because you, from our discussions off microphone, your PhD thesis was on that.
Yes, my PhD thesis was on national unity and national integration in Cameroon, dreams and realities.
Okay.
My master's dissertation was the Anglophone problem in Cameroon, a historical perspective from 1916 to 1995.
Okay. Now, when you say Anglophone, who in your thesis, who are you referring to?
Well, you see, we have certain definitions, and everybody will define Anglophone based on his own interest. Basically, Anglophone is Anglo is English and phone is a sound. So sounding English is Anglophone. It will mean people who speak English. In the same light, Franco would mean French and the phone is the sound. Francophone is a French sound. Within the Cameroon context, Cameroonians are both Francophones and Anglophones if we limit ourselves to the linguistic definition. But the concrete definition for an Anglophone in Cameroon goes beyond the linguistic usage. It means people who live or who originate from the regions in Cameroon which lived under the former British administration. Hereupon we are talking about the northwest and southwest regions. Better still, we can call them Southern Cameroonians or the people of West Cameroon. Okay. Now, if we use the language,
yes. How did did that evolve to become a name that designates a people?
Joe, if you permit, I want to run fast to make a strong statement which brings a lot of confusion by the definition in itself. Because we realize that there are people who go to these schools, there are people from the other regions, whom we call Francophone regions, who study English and who speak English, and they consider themselves as Anglophones. So I want to be very clear that since most of us, you too, Joe, you speak French, so you are Francophone. You speak English, you are Anglophone, so you are Anglophone and Francophone at the same time.
Exactly.
But within the Cameroon context, the contextualizing it, an Anglophone has a geographical delimitation. How did it get there? The evolution, I should say, it is just a matter of time and space and a careful plot to disregard the people. That is why they are trying to dilute the issue of Anglophoneness by getting people who originate from other areas in Cameroon to fall in love with the English language and become fluent in that language. In this sense, they are not Anglophones. They are Francophones or Anglophiles. It means that they have fallen in love with the English sound. So Phil is love, Anglo is English. So anybody who originates from the 8 other regions in Cameroon, who is perfectly fluent in English, It's not an Anglophone, but an Anglophile.
Okay. The way you speak gives one the impression that we in Cameroon have carved out a name based on the historical perspective of it.
Whether we like it or not, Cameroon is made up of two components, Anglophones and Francophones. We are not Anglophones and Francophones at the same time within the historical evolution of this country.
Okay. Prof, you are a political scientist. When you listen to him, what's your reaction?
My reaction is that the problems in front of us actually go beyond being Francophone or being Anglophone. And I'm glad that Professor Zengwa has himself recognized that there is confusion in the definitions, and that each one defines who's an Anglophone based on his or her interests. If you go 55 years of our unity...
If you don't have an interest, how would you define it?
It's for me, as a matter of, as a Cameroonian, there is no doubt that I am an Anglophone and I speak French also. There is no doubt that there are Francophones who speak English. I'm sure there are Anglophones like all of us here who speak French too. It's a good thing. It is a reflection of our collective will to be Cameroonian. But no matter how much French I speak, I will always be an Anglophone because my parents come from the Southwest region. So, and I attended English-speaking schools, and so I have no complex or no question or no doubt about the fact that I'm an Anglophone. And I'm glad that, you see, this confusion that has just been raised by Professor Zengwa actually does not help us in finding a solution. But the problem at hand, or that we face now, has very little to do with the definition of who is an Anglophone or who is a Francophone. For me, as a political scientist, what I know is that from the first course in political science, you are taught that politics functions as a system, and that politics, therefore, if you want to analyze it and look at it, is actually a political system functioning in order to attain certain desired or desirable objectives.
Yeah.
And that as a political system, you have at any given moment inputs that come from certain quarters, certain individuals, certain groups. These inputs can be defined as problems, can be defined as criticisms, can be defined as protests or strikes, and lobbying. These are all inputs. These inputs are articulated by political parties, those who want to be in positions of decision-making. They are also articulated by civil society, meaning those associations that don't want to necessarily be in power. But all of these associations help in ensuring that those inputs are well processed by those in power. And in our case, those in power for 55 years have always tried, in one way or the other, to process these inputs, be they in the form of problems we don't doubt. In other words, when a political system is put in place, the institutions that are created, the laws that are created, the political culture that is put in place, all this together is what we refer to as the social contract. The social contract
between the government
and the government, between those who are processing problems and making decisions, and those who are inputting, making sure that they are articulating their problems, their demands and criticisms and revendications. That's very normal. The important thing is that in a republic, those who are in positions of decision making have to understand that as a political system, they have to listen. Exactly. And in 55 years we have listened, and they have to make decisions, and in 55 years we have made decisions. They may not be satisfactory to everyone, but those decisions have been made. That's where we are in 55 years.
Okay. Now, John Bakuru, when you listen to the two professors, and you look at the articulations of the two interest groups in the strike action, that's the lawyers and the teachers, it's not a question of putting to question the state in which we are, but articulating issues that have to do with their respective cause.
Yeah, I think that this is a very fundamental issue you raise as far as this Anglophone question in Cameroon is concerned. A lot of people in government are misunderstanding what is happening today. Some call it secession, others say it is division, others say they are putting the form or shape of the country to question. But the basic truth in the whole thing is, this is a situation where some sections of the public believe that we need to do everything possible to live in one block, but in a cohesive manner, where everybody feels good, everybody feels comfortable, everybody has the feeling of belonging. And how will this not be like a matter of division? Because when you listen to the common law lawyers have raised practical and clear issues. There is nowhere in the world where an accused person will be coerced to defend himself in a language he does not understand. And they tell you, before the last 5 years, magistrates who were trained, who had the common law base, trained in Enam, were systematically appointed to the Northwest and the Southwest, the same like court registrars. Yes. What I'm trying to say here is, I mean, we are saying that people who have the common law background, who were trained in the common law background and who went to Enam, there's no common law department.
I think what we will do next is...
Let me just learn very fast, very quickly. What I'm saying is, they are simply saying this country has a bijural system, and that the bijural system should be respected. And they have identified that because when the legal framework of the country is not solid enough and self-protective, there is always the possibility of an encroachment. And so when they talk of a return to the federal system, they have not said a return to 1961. They are not saying that we should return to the referendum that brought the two Cameroons together.
You're reading into their mind.
No, I'm not reading into their mind. I'm saying what they say. They are saying that we should go back to a federal system which provides institutional protection for the French culture and the Anglo-Saxon culture. The same thing that the teachers are saying. Because if we operate in this manner, you will avoid encroachment and we will remain an indivisible Cameroon. The United States of America is not a fragmented country. It's a federal system. Nigeria, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is a federated system, but it's one country.
You said
the same like Canada.
You said you wanted to learn. Okay, I'd like us to...